Welcome everyone to our Expedia Cruises Thursday night travel talk. Tonight we are featuring Paul Gogan Cruises and the magnificent South Polynesia. Just a few housekeeping rules. Everyone is muted. You do have the ability to turn your camera off and on. I would really urge you, if you feel comfortable, to turn your video on. We've been secluded and shut down for so long. I miss seeing faces. So please feel free to put your camera on. We do have a chat feature, and if you do have any questions, type them into the chat feature and we will answer them either during or after the presentation. So my name is Lisa Amflick. I'm one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises, and tonight's travel talk is being hosted by the 6 Edmonton and vicinity Expedia Cruises stores. We've been doing these travel talks for over a year now. We've been doing them since travel shut down, and we do them to inspire and to educate you and to let you know what's been happening in the travel industry. Unbelievable to me, because I thought this was going to last for just a short period of time, is we have now been closed down for travel for 16 months. And if you are on this call, you probably love to travel. You're missing it. Travel fulfills us. That's why we do it. Although we're not promoting traveling right now because we do have issues with quarantine coming into Canada, it is the right time to plan. And I think we are going to open up very, very quickly with the onslaught of second doses of vaccines. Our phone has been ringing a little crazy today, but it's okay time to plan. And statistics have shown when you're taking a vacation, 40% of the pleasure of it comes from planning it. And, you know, when I've been thinking over the last number of months of how challenging this has been, what keeps me going sometimes is the thought of where I want to go next. So it might be a sunny vacation on a beach, going on a Caribbean cruise. Maybe I might go back to Rome and see the Colosseum, maybe back to Barcelona to see the Sagrada Familia and how that has changed. Maybe I'll do something a little exotic, a Vietnam, Cambodia cruise, or a safari to Africa. But I think when we have something to look forward to, it makes us happier and gives us pleasure. All the more that we're going to need in the future the advice of a travel consultant. Travel will be different. There will be protocols, there will be procedures that we have to follow, and the travel consultants at Expedia Cruises have been keeping up to date in the never-ending changing of what's happening. So we will be here to advise you on how to make your vacation seamless and safe. We're committed to finding you the best value for your travel dollars. We are more than just cruises. You call one of your Expedia Cruises consultants and we can help you from the moment you leave your home to the moment you come home. Our name is Expedia Cruises, but we are also air, land, and sea vacations. So we can take care of your flights, your tours, your transfers, anything that you need. We are your one stop. And isn't it nice to know that you can shop local because we are located in your neighborhoods? So I appreciate you joining us tonight. We're now going to turn it over to our special guest, Vickie Lubick from Paul Gogan Cruises. Vickie is joining us from her home in Calgary, and I know that she's missing travel as well. So Vickie, please share with us the world of Paul Gogan.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. There's lots of Expedia owners and travel advisors on the call, and I certainly appreciate that. I do absolutely miss you all very much. Lots of great things that you mentioned, Lisa. Just let me know for sure. You're looking at my first screen, right, with the picture of the ship? All good, thank you. As we do go along, I think you have the opportunity to ask questions on it's either chat or a question box. So feel free to ask questions. If we can't get to them during the time that we're on the webinar, the Zoom call, we'll certainly come back to you afterwards and answer any questions that you have. Now, I know many of the travel advisors that are on this call here have been on Paul Gogan Cruises and absolutely loved it. And, you know, when we're talking about French Polynesia and Tahiti and the South Pacific, generally we book a year in advance anyways. Before we started this call, we spoke a little bit about just how busy we are for 2022. There is no question there is pent-up demand. Like many of the travel advisors here, I've been in the industry for a very long time. Of course, this is just absolutely unprecedented. But we are seeing advance bookings, especially our longer sailings. Like our longest sailing we have in 2022 is already 96% sold out, I think it was. I looked earlier today. So especially some of our longer sailings, and I'll show you why. We've got some great news about our payment policies, and I think that's what's helping along as well. Well, what I like to do when I talk about Tahiti and French Polynesia is a little bit about where the islands are, the history and the culture of the islands, as well as who Paul Gogan Cruises is and why you would want to sail with Paul Gogan Cruises. Tahiti and French Polynesia, actually, I'm not sure if you know, is the official name of the island. Often you hear it referred to as Tahiti. It's a little confusing because Tahiti is actually one of the islands, but Tahiti, the island, is it's kind of the economic center. The main airport or city is Papeete, and that's where all of the international flights fly into. Tahiti is part of a group of islands called the Society Islands, but there's 118 islands in French Polynesia. And they actually take up an area in the ocean the size of Europe. The landmass is only the size of Prince Edward Island. So very small landmass, very few people in the islands. Only an 8-hour direct nonstop flight out of Los Angeles to Papeete. And we always, in our pricing, we always include that airfare. If you decide you want to do points or you want to look at doing your airfare separately, you're absolutely welcome to do that. It's usually at least $1,550 US, less if you choose to do your own air. But see, when you look at this map here, see where Hawaii, everyone knows where Hawaii is, right? Hawaii is north of the equator, about the same distance as Tahiti is south of the equator. Do you know that Tahiti in a year receives the same amount of tourists as Hawaii receives in just 7 days? So it's just an absolutely beautiful, unspoiled paradise. Anyone who has ever been to Tahiti will tell you it's more beautiful than any picture you've ever seen. And I'm going to show you some amazing pictures. And I can see those are the advisors I can see here quickly that have been are all nodding their head. I've said that, you know, for many, many years, every presentation I've ever started, and I've never had anyone disagree. You know, there's a few words. Randy and I have talked a few times about words that we were not particularly crazy about after the last 16 months. Evolving is one of them, and social distancing happens to be one for me that I'm hoping pretty soon we're not talking about social distancing anymore. But just so you know, always, you know, before this and ongoing, social distancing really has come naturally in the islands. Tahiti has just over 230,000 people that live in the islands. And for example, Hawaii has over 4 million people that live in the islands. So just to give you an example, it's a good comparison, I think, because most people know where Hawaii is, and many folks have probably already been to Hawaii before. Well, just a little bit on the history. So it was more than 6,000 years ago that the people from the Solomon Islands, they settled in Tonga and Samoa and Fiji. Fiji is almost 4,000 kilometers from Tahiti, just so you know. But they settled there, and it was actually 2,000 years before they were able to adjust, because of the heavy winds, that they could adjust the technology so that they were able to navigate the strong winds and go forward onto Hawaii and then into French Polynesia. And a couple of dates in history that are important is in 1767, Tahiti was claimed by the British. And then in 1880, Tahiti became a French colony. And in 1891, so just right around the turn of the century, our namesake, who is French Impressionist painter, Paul Gogan, he went to Tahiti. It was a self-imposed exile that he did when he went to Tahiti. And you probably know this is an example of his art, but this is really where all of his art became, where his paintings became famous. He passed away, and many years later is when his art actually became famous. But the beautiful maidens that he painted, many of those were all done from his time in Tahiti. Now, the Indigenous Societies of the South Pacific were drastically affected by the colonization and Christianity, because the Maoris and the temples were destroyed. Tattoos, which were indigenous, tattoos were banned. Even traditional dance was banned because they said it was too erotic. So the culture changed quite a bit. But And in fact, actually, when Paul Gauguin himself, when he went to Tahiti, he was, kind of appalled to see how colonization and how Christianity really had changed the islands. But, thankfully now it's a perfect blend of a French culture along with a Tahitian culture, and a great blend of cultures in the islands there. I was surprised to learn that it was actually in the 1950s before dance was reintroduced into the islands. And that's actually when tourism really started to pick up again. I'm not sure if you've heard of the word mana. I had never actually, before I'd been to the islands, had never heard of the islands or the word mana. But before it was popular to record history on ink and paper, everything was passed down through dance and through song. And the Tahitian culture is very rich with storytelling. The Tahitian people love to sing and dance, and they love to tell stories of the history and the culture. And they believe that creativity is a power that's instilled in each person, and they believe that it's a supernatural energy, and they call it mana. And historically, people that were the priests in the villages or the chiefs in the villages, those were the folks that had that were considered to have the most mana. Well, why Paul Gauguin cruises? We've been in Tahiti for more than 20 years. We are extremely successful, and really our success is largely due to the size of this vessel. It's large enough to offer a luxury experience, but small enough to get close into the islands like this. So I'm not sure if you know, but this ship was purposely built for French Polynesia. So it has a shallow draft. The draft is more or less the amount of ship underneath the water. And it gives it the ability to get close into the destination like this. So you'll see when we're in the islands, we tender in pretty much every port except Papeete. We anchor and then we tender into the islands. But when we tender, it's quick tenders going back and forth all the time. I know some big ships put more people on their tenders than we put on our 20,000-ton ship. So just like I said, ship is almost 20,000 tons and never more than 332 folks on board. Actually, a few less now because because of the new protocols, there's certain staterooms that are reserved. And I'm going to talk a little bit about protocols. I just want you to know, last summer, Tahiti was open to the general public, and we had many sailings throughout last summer and last fall that were very successful. And it's highly because of the existing health protocols that we had. Just know that any protocol that CLIA, the Cruise Line Industry Association, or the World Health Organization, or any cruise line has ever thought up, we've absolutely adhered to those, and they're constantly changing, evolving. There's that word again. They are evolving. So our first sailing, we're coming back to Tahiti now in August. Tahiti opened up again May 1st. It's primarily for Americans. There's a bunch of rules to get through right now. So I think for Canadians, we're thinking fourth quarter and into 2022. Just know your travel advisors at Expedia. I've worked with many of these folks for more than 20 years. They know their stuff. They know where to go to find the information that's going to have the newest protocols so that you have everything in hand and you know exactly what it is that you need to have. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because just know it's going to be unobtrusive protocols on board. So it's not going to ruin your experience. You'll get to experience the islands like you did before. We do know it's an unprecedented time and folks are looking for flexibility when they're booking. So right now, all of our bookings, you don't have to pay until 30 days before you go. So at the time you book, within a few days, we require a deposit. And then 30 days before you go, if you decide you don't want to go, you can cancel for any reason. And your deposit, actually 31 days before you'd have to cancel, and your deposit would go towards a future travel credit. And you can use that on any Paul Gauguin cruise for 2 years, or even Pinot. So Pinot is the company that owns us. They are a French company. They are the only luxury cruise line that's based out of France. And they're all about small ships and environmental protection and sustainability. So it's a really good fit with Paul Gauguin. They purchased the ship about 2 years ago. So a little bit about the vessel. Again, here I have my 326 guests, or it is 326 now. We used to have 332. 70% of the ship is balconies. The rest are all outside staterooms. And then we have a 1 to 1.5 crew to guest ratio. So that just talks to the high level of service we have on board. So if you've been on other luxury brands, because we are considered a luxury cruise line, if you've been on other luxury brands, that's typical of the type of crew to guest ratio that you would see on board. And really, life on board, it's thanks to our all-inclusive pricing that our guests are able to enjoy everything because it's all included. So you don't have to worry about, alternative dining because we have multiple dining venues and they're all included in the cost. You don't have to worry about purchasing non-alcoholic beverages or even alcoholic beverages. So throughout the voyage, we have open bar, top shelf liquors, lots of choices of great wines, lots of great rosés, but lots of great wine on board and lots of choices as well. We even include all of the gratuities as well. So it's, it's just an easy way to prepay, because Tahiti itself, if you've looked at doing a land-based vacation, it's actually quite an expensive destination. So to think of having all of this included, it's just a really, really great value. The heartbeat of the Gogan and this experience lies with our Gogins and our Gogans. So the Gogins are the girls, the Gogan are the boys, and they are our onboard ambassadors. They greet you when you arrive. They're your hostesses. As I said, they love to sing and dance, and it's a very natural thing. They are versatile and they're energetic and they're just multi-talented. They are singers and dancers. They love to do various crafts with the guests. Like this is showing where we do, one day when you come down to dinner by the dining room, there's all kinds of flowers laid out and you can sit with the Gogins and they will show you how to make a traditional lei, or the headdresses are called haze, and all different kinds of crafts that you can do with them. They'll show you how to make shell jewelry or weave flowers into baskets or tie a pareo, even how to perform a Tahitian dance, or even learn some words of the Tahitian language, which is very interesting. So they love to spend time with the guests, and they make it an authentic Polynesian experience, which is so important. Now, remember I said all of the dining is included. I should quickly want to show you our dining rooms just to give you an idea. We have La Veranda, that's at the top there, and it has, it's open for breakfast and lunch, but in the evening, and it's got a great alfresco outdoor dining area there, as you can see. In the evening, we dim the lights and we change the crystal and the china, and it becomes this really cool French-inspired restaurant. The menu is overseen by Jean-Pierre Vagato. He is a Michelin star chef from France, and he does a degustation menu, so that's little tastings. So if you're a foodie, you're going to absolutely love this restaurant. And this one, as well as the one below La Grill, just because they're smaller venues, we require reservations, but you could make a reservation there every evening if you'd like to. And again, no additional charge. La Grill is outdoors as well. In Bora Bora, if we overnight in Bora Bora, La Grill goes out underneath the stars, and it's out by the pool, and it's a Polynesian fusion cuisine that we have there. Now, La Toile is our main dining room, and here we have, a variety of foods, everything from, your most basic international Caesar salad, steak, to a variety of foods. We highly suggest to people that you have a soup, a salad, an appetizer, an entree. There's an amazing cheese cart after dinner, and then all of the desserts that you can possibly imagine, and again, open bar. And a nice size portions. So this gives you an example. You do want to take a picture of everything we serve you because it looks so wonderful. And then it tastes absolutely incredible as well. So lots of choices and variety here. But then we also have an early risers breakfast. So from about 5:30 in the morning, there's an area where you can have pastries and cappuccino, and there's a really cool smoothie bar there too. And Then there is high tea every afternoon, and that changes every day. You can even have room service in your state. Well, we have a room service every day, but if you want to have dining served to you course by course in your stateroom, you can do that as well. There's no additional charge for that. Anything that's being served in the dining room, you can have in your stateroom as well. Now, I can't possibly tell you enough about our crew. Just speak to the Expedia advisor and they will tell you our crew are exceptional. They will remember your name. They'll remember how you had your steak cooked the night before, and they love to anticipate guests' needs. If you have any dietary restrictions, just anything like that. I had a client that was on I guess 2 years ago now, but she was telling me she'd been on 2 other cruises that year and she requires gluten-free. She's an actual celiac, not just, wasn't just a preference, but she said it's the only cruise line that the crew would sit down with her at dinner and show her all of the things that she could have and say, oh, we can do this and we'll adjust it for you, so don't worry about that, and just really helped her out and made her feel special in that they could prepare many dishes for her rather than saying, here's your 3 choices, right? Because you have a limited dining. So they have ways of making every single guest feel special. This is an example of the Gauguins with an evening performance, and we do have full evening performances every evening. It's some authentic Polynesian type of entertainment generally, and we do have a crew show, though, one evening on every sailing. Our crew entertains, and it's probably my favorite. They're very funny and they're very talented. So it could be maybe these hip swaying dancers or a cappella singer, but very much about the culture of the islands as well. And then from time to time, and different times, we bring on different performers from the islands. And this is an example of in Huahine. We bring on a troupe of children that dance, and they're just, well, as you can see, they're just absolutely. We have, on every sailing, we have lecturers that are on board, guests or hosts that are on board every single sailing. So there's always at least one, but sometimes more. And they are marine biologists, whale and dolphin experts, anthropologists, biologists, so all kinds of very interesting people. We're so much more than just sun and sand. And great lecturers. You can have lunch with these people and then do an excursion with them if you'd like to. So really, really personable. And then from time to time, we bring on guest hosts as well. Many of our sailings, we do lots of wine and food theme. We've had Canadian chefs on board. So lots of different type of guest hosts, and pretty much about 6 or 7 months in advance, your Expedia advisor can tell you who the guest hosts are on any particular sailing. I want to tell you about our dry dock. I wish I had just tons of pictures to show you of our dry dock, but we just completed it in February. So no one's been on the ship yet since we've had the dry dock. There's 3 main pillars of what we've done. The first thing that's so important is we've eliminated the use of heavy oil fuel. And as you can imagine, preserving this environment is so important. So we've done that. We've upgraded all of the soft goods, so the carpets, the curtains, the chairs in all of the staterooms in the public areas. And funny enough, actually, what people seem to be the most impressed with is that we are including complimentary Wi-Fi now. So complimentary Wi-Fi throughout the voyages as well. Sorry, I know I jumped backwards there. You know what, I just want to mention something before I forget it. I mentioned that we were luxury. I just want to make sure that you know that we are not about being formal. So we call it laid back luxury. So no formal evenings on board. You can expect to have the best food you've ever had and the best service you've ever had, but no tuxedos or gowns or that sort of thing. People dress well. We have, gentlemen typically cotton pants and a collared shirt. Women, it's so much easier for women. We just wear sundresses. But yeah, no formal nights. And that kind of transcends to the type of people that like to sail with us too. They're, people that want the best, but they just don't want to have to worry about, like I say, tuxedos in the evening and that sort of thing. We do have a full spa. It's the amenities are Algotherm, which is a French spa. They're absolutely incredible. So everything from manicures and pedicures to massage, that sort of stuff as well. Another highlight is the Marina that comes off the back of the ship. So the Marina comes down, and then we have paddleboarding and kayaking right off the back of the vessel. The waters in Tahiti are typically very calm like this and very smooth. So if you've never paddleboarded, it's a great place to learn how to paddleboard because the water is quite calm like this. And you'll find frequently the Marina is open like this, and you can try your hand at different types of water activities. The marine life is one of the most rich, colorful marine life you can ever see anywhere in the world. Coral reefs actually cover 1% of the earth, but are home to almost 25% of the marine life. So it's amazing the opportunities that you have with various optional shore excursions to explore the underwater marine life. We have glass bottom boats and either way, so you don't have to actually snorkel or scuba dive to see marine life, and tons of optional excursions that you can do as well that are you know, inland and going up into the mountains and enjoying the islands as well. We do have 2 dive masters right on board the ship, and the diving is an additional charge, just so you know. It starts at about $100 for a 1-tank dive, but the dive masters take you right from the marina out in a Zodiac like this or in a speedboat, and you go out and you dive right from there. All the diving equipment is included. You get back onto the ship, and you get back to the marina, and they take all the gear, and then, you know, the next day you're diving with the same dive master, which is really important because they get to understand your preferences and your comfort level, and it's nice to have that same person as you go from island to island. I just want to tell you a little bit about our beach retreats, and then I'll show you some examples of our itineraries. We have 2 private beach retreats. The first is in Motumahana, we call it, in Taha. Taha is known for vanilla. Tahiti is known for 2 things, vanilla and cultured pearls. So usually they're black, but they have all different kinds of pearls. 75% of the vanilla is grown in the islands of Tahiti, or in the island of Taha, and the Gauguins will be here, and they'll do demonstrations with you on how to cultivate pearls and vanilla beans as well. But the water here is 27 degrees year round. It's actually almost 28. It's crystal clear, bathwater warm. We have open bar here. We have lavish barbecue and lots of lounge chairs, the activities off the ship here. The one side of the island here, you can walk out 15 minutes out into the ocean and you're up to your chest in bathwater, warm water. It's just absolutely amazing. And then there's another area where you can do drift snorkeling. So you snorkel out a bit, and then you snorkel along the drift or the reef. It kind of carries you, and then you can walk back around the island and do it again. So lots of different activities and really cool things here in Motumahana, as well as Bora Bora, our private beach in Bora Bora. And the only thing here are sand and trees and a bar. It's an absolute highlight for folks. You have this incredible view. This is Mount Otamanu in the background. That's iconic. You can see the Tahiti, they say, especially Bora Bora, has a painter's palette of blues. And you can absolutely see that from this picture with the various colors of blue in the ocean. Just absolutely amazing. Bora Bora and Moorea are 2 of the highlights usually that when folks are thinking about Tahiti, that's what usually they have in mind. But often people will come back and they'll say the private beaches were the highlight for them. So half of our itineraries in a year are a 7-night itinerary. And on that, we overnight in Bora Bora and we overnight in Moorea. We sail into Huahine. That was where I showed you the children. And it also has the most archaeological sites of any of the islands. And then we have our private beach, Motumahana, on that 7-day sailing. And then from there, we sort of build on additional itineraries. I highly encourage you to spend time in Papeete. Papeete has an amazing market. It's been there for over 100 years. So everything from local handicrafts to, you know, fresh fish and just seeing what the local people are buying for supper, to your Tahitian pearls and everything you can imagine. It's about a 10-minute walk from the pier where we're docked there. So lots of great things to see in the Papeete as well. And then from then we have 10-night sailing, and our 10-night sailing is into the Tuamotus, and the Tuamotus has the largest lagoon, a second largest lagoon in the world, Rangiroa does, and then one of only 7 in the world UNESCO World Biospheres. So if you are a snorkel or scuba diver, this is an excellent itinerary for you. And just know each of these, as much as you might think it's all French Polynesia, each of these itineraries is really quite different, and that's where it's great to talk to the Expedia advisors, because they'll be able to tell you which is the itinerary that will be best for you. A lot of Western Canadians like this Cook Island itinerary, and I think it's because you get French Polynesia, and then you also get the culture of the Cook Islands, which is New Zealand Maori kind of feel to it. Aitutaki is so flat you can see the ocean from anywhere on the island, and Rarotonga is extremely lush, really mountainous, and then it has beautiful, beautiful white sand beaches. On 14-night itineraries, we sail into the Marquesas, and the Marquesas are so remote, they have their own ecosystem. So there's plants and animals that only live in the Marquesas. There's actually more wild horses in the Marquesas than there are people. It also has very rugged coastline, so not great beaches necessarily. You get great beaches on the Society Islands part of this itinerary, and the Tuamotus, but not necessarily in the Marquesas. So this is why I'm saying if you talk to the Expedia folks, they'll be able to tell you which itinerary is best for you. This is the itinerary I was telling you at the beginning here is over 95% sold out right now for 2022. We will be doing the same itinerary in 2023, but it will be probably July or August before we have schedules. So we do it, we sail either from Papeete into Fiji, where you cross, you sail into 4 very different archipelagos, you cross the international date line, you sail into Tonga, which is the only group of islands in the South Pacific that was never colonized by the Europeans. So it has its own monarchy, the only original monarchy from the South Pacific. And then on the 13-night itinerary, you sail into Bequia Island, and Bequia Island that's where the original Tahitian fire walking, that's where it originated. On that 12-night itinerary, then it doesn't include Bequia Island. Many of our guests are celebrating some sort of a milestone, birthday, anniversary, and we have a Polynesian blessing ceremony that we do on board, and the Gogans take this traditional quilt and they wrap it around the guests, and then there's a blessing done for them. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's complimentary for our guests. We don't have a lot of children on board, but we do allow children year-round. And in July and August, and in some sailings in December, we have a kids program for a limited number of kids that we have. And we do a children's program there's no additional charge for that either on board. And we can tell you more about that as well if you're wondering about traveling with children. I encourage you to spend a little bit of time. So whether you spend time in the islands in advance, a lot of people in their mind, they're picturing that overwater bungalow. I'll just tell you, the overwater bungalows are beautiful, don't get me wrong. But I think, the ship, being on the ship in a veranda, looking out into the islands, I think is nicer than being on an overwater bungalow looking out into the ship. But and I do highly recommend a balcony on Gogan cruises. You want to open your veranda in the morning and sit out and have room service bring you your cappuccino and your pastries and your fresh squeezed orange juice and smell the fresh air. And you're so close to the islands too that you can see right into the islands from your balcony, or whether you want to have appies in the afternoon or a nightcap in the evening. It's great to have a private balcony. I just want to talk about price. I just want to end on price because I've said so much about us being small ship and luxury and all-inclusive that I don't want to leave you with the impression that we're very expensive. We start for Canadian residents only. We have a 10% discount on every sailing in 2022 for Canadian residents. And our prices start at $3,700 US. That includes the airfare out of Los Angeles. So airfare out of Los Angeles is, as I said, the air credit we give is at least $1,550. We also include the transfers. We include day rooms, just depending on how the flight times, how they connect up. So that's outside stateroom on a 7-day sailing. Now we have longer sailings, as I mentioned to you as well, and we have owner suites and larger staterooms as well. Our staterooms start at 239 square feet, so they're quite large anyways. But there are a variety of sailings that start from $3,700 US. And before I end, if I can't see questions yet, so I think Lisa will tell me if there's any questions, but if I don't mention weather, I know someone's going to ask me about weather, so I just want to talk a little bit about weather. I actually I live in Calgary, as Lisa said. I meant to look at the weather and what the highest it's ever been in Tahiti, because I was thinking, I bet it's higher in Calgary today than it was in Tahiti, because the average, it rarely gets below about 25 and rarely goes above 30. It's just that temperature consistently year-round, and it is a year-round destination. But we do get a rainy season, and we have a bit more rain from about the end of November till about the end of February. And it's very unusual to get multiple days of rain, but typically what happens is it's absolutely beautiful, all day, and then you'll get a torrential rain for about a half hour, and then it'll clear up for a couple of days, and then you'll get a bit of rain. So from about November till about the end of February, expect on a 7-day sailing, expect to see a little bit of rain, but don't expect to have it just absolutely pouring the entire time you're there, because it's very unusual. Not that it's never happened, but like I said, I live in Calgary, and 2 weeks ago I was covering my plants at night, and today it's 31 degrees, right? So it's pretty hard to predict weather. I always tell folks though, if it's going to ruin your vacation to get some rain, avoid even October till about the end of March, April. I would say avoid that and travel the rest of the year. I think you'll be happier with that. Meruru means thank you. I do absolutely want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone at Expedia Cruises. I've worked with you for so many years, and I know you are truly the experts, and you take such good care of your clients and our guests, and I truly appreciate it. And I hope this has inspired you to talk with your Expedia advisor a little bit more and find out more about Paul Gauguin Cruises. And let's see, Lisa, can you let me, is there any questions that anyone has?
You've covered quite a few of them. There was somebody that asked about best time of year to go, and as you mentioned, it is year round, with a little bit of the rainy season. You touched on the pre and post stays. Can you elaborate a little bit more if people wanted to add extra time, Vickie?
Yeah, what I would just say, we offer hotels. We have a very limited, like Paul Gauguin Cruises does, a very limited choice of hotels, but we have hotel packages that you can book with us as well. But this is where your Expedia advisor, they know the destination, so they have other tour operators or hoteliers that they can work with, so they can offer you, a ton of hotels. Well, I shouldn't say a ton, there isn't that many hotels in French Polynesia, but lots of options for you. So if it works better to do, book a hotel through a tour operator or a different way, that's where you guys know that stuff, right? So whether you're better off to do an airline ticket right out of Edmonton or that sort of thing, that's where there's a lot of variety and choices, and that's where I think it's great. But I absolutely encourage people, spend a bit of time in the islands, but just know it's very expensive, and there are no all-inclusives other than the Brando resort, which is it's the most beautiful resort I've ever been to in my life. It's absolutely amazing, but it starts at, I think it's like $3,000 a night. It's worth every penny, I promise you, but it's a little bit pricey. The last time I was at one of the the hotels, actually, I had a burger and a beer for supper, and it was $52 Canadian once I converted it. So, don't get me wrong, it's worth every penny, this destination, but it's quite expensive. So when you think about having all the drinks included, all the meals, and all the choice that you get on board, it's just such a great value. So I would say if you have 14 days and you want to spend a bit of time in the islands, do a 10-day cruise and then spend a bit of time in the islands. If you have unlimited pocketbook, spend as much time as you can, in the destination and on the ship as well too. But that might be something to consider.
Perfect. You did mention 2022. Are 2023 bookings or itineraries up for booking yet?
No, and I don't. It's really quite strange. I don't know why we don't, because really we've done the same thing for about 23 years now. So you think we could. There has been talk. Pinot was building us 2 additional ships, and as far as we still know, there will be additional ships in 2023 in French Polynesia. So that could be what's kind of holding things up. But just look, if you look at our itineraries, like the various itineraries that I mentioned to you now, it's unlikely we'll have a lot of really new different things. It'll just be a matter of what year or what date that you can do specific sailings. Like Fiji, for example, we'll probably only go to Fiji once in the year. We do the Marquesas maybe 4 times. Cook Islands probably 4 or 5 times. So that might limit you a little bit, but I think it's going to be August probably before we've announced it. Yeah, I let you guys know right away as soon as we do. And you can waitlist that. Just let your advisor know, and they'll make sure that we get out to you as soon as something is available, especially if you have groups. If you're looking at doing something with groups, they'll come to me and we'll make sure that you get advance notice.
Excellent. You did mention the new ship. Do we know when that is coming out? Or you said 2 new ships?
I mentioned that we just did our dry dock, which is, in this day and age, it's, it's just such a relief to know that they're investing the money in the ship, which is fabulous. But I think, we just don't know anything for sure right now. Originally, we were supposed to have 1 new ship in 2022 and 1 in 2023, and they were going to be 230 guests, a little bit smaller than 230 guests. And I haven't heard anything about it, but again, I'll let you know as soon as I know anything about it.
All right. There is a question about excursions. Are they included in the overall cost?
Yeah, no, we don't include excursions, but remember we have those 2 private retreats. So those are 2 days that rarely anyone would take excursions on those days. And we always include the tenders that take you into the islands. So if all you want to do is go into like Bora Bora, get a tender into Bora Bora, and take your snorkel gear and go off to a beach, you can absolutely do that. You don't have to take an organized shore excursion. But can I just talk a bit about one excursion, or am I running too long now?
No, please.
Okay, so I'll just tell you, one of my favorite excursions is in Bora Bora, and it's Stingray Ballet, it's called. And a couple of times ago that I did it, you get on a small boat, and that time there was 10 people on that boat, and we had dolphins that were swimming right beside our boat. We got off in the water and we swam over top of a manta ray, and then we saw whales. Randy's seen whales too. He has incredible pictures of whales. But we saw whales, and then we get off in the Stingray Ballet, it's called, and you're up to your chest in bath water, warm water, and there's every kind of fish you can possibly imagine. There's the stingrays, that is so cool. And it's like you're the only boat with, that you can see for miles, right? And sharks too, black-tipped reef sharks and lemon sharks. And then we go to a beach after that. And that's about a 3-hour excursion. And it's $130 US. I did an e-bike last time too in Moorea. It was a 2.5-hour excursion, and it was about $60 US. And all of our excursions are small groups. And yes, you can do any of our excursions. So folks right now on the excursions, they're asked to wear masks when they're in the public area on the excursions, and then we take your temperature when you get back on the ship. But all small groups, and you can go off and do your own thing. Because I understand some cruise lines are forcing you to sort of go in your pod and do your thing. Here you don't need to. There just isn't that many people on the islands.
Okay, perfect. You definitely brought back a lot of memories for me, and because I was on a couple of years ago, Vickie, and I think one of the questions that people have is the water really that blue? And I have to say, the pictures don't do it justice, and I can see some people shaking their head. It really is beautiful. And you mentioned in Moorea, and that probably was one of the highlights, is the mamas of Moorea. The women come with baskets of flowers and just throw them on these mats. And the smell on the ship that night was absolutely spectacular. So it really is a journey of senses, whether it's being in the water, smelling the flowers, seeing the beaches. It absolutely is. It is heaven on earth.
Oh, thank you. Well, and very much about the destination, and very port intensive as well. So we're more about, we're like a great way to see French Polynesia, but we're not as much about a ship as we are about a destination and the people and the culture.
And I don't know if you mentioned that when you get on board, you get snorkel equipment, and that's your snorkel equipment for the whole voyage. Is that
No,
still?
you know what, Lisa, we're not doing that right now. So because of COVID, yeah, I know. So we still have the flippers, but the masks, we're asking people to bring their own. Just, well, you know, that's one of the things that could change. You know,
that makes sense.
It's hard to say, but the yeah, we're selling them on on board in the shop, but we're not including it right now. That's one of the few things that's changed. You know, that and buffets.
And it might evolve to something else, Vickie, next year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right. I don't think there's any more questions. Vickie, thank you. I think as we're all sitting here, having gone 2 years without vacations, the fact that we can dream about this. And as you mentioned, the ships are quite small. They are selling out. People are wanting to go on vacation because we have all been missing it. So if you're thinking of sailing somewhere, going somewhere for 2022, please give your Expedia Cruises consultant a call, because things are in high demand. We'll be able to answer all the questions for you, find the best value for you. So please reach out to us. Reminder to please follow us on Facebook and also on YouTube, where this and all our other presentations will be recorded. Next week, if you can join us, Thursday, June the 10th, we're going to be dealing with Anderson Vacations, vacationing close to home, featuring Churchill, Manitoba, and a wonderful destination to see the polar bears. So if that's always been on your bucket list, tune in with us tomorrow, next Thursday. Travel is starting again. Please dream, go to sleep tonight, dream of a fabulous vacation. As Vickie mentioned, flexible booking policies, you're not at risk, so that's all wonderful. We thank you for joining us. We thank you for your past vacations, and we truly look forward to helping you plan a future vacation. And enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we will see you again soon.